The Moors. The Moors enslaved Christians and other non-Muslims in Al-Andalus, or Islamic Iberia. The Moors also imported white Christian slaves from Eastern Europe and Spain. If the term Moor seems familiar but confusing, there's a reason. Though the term can be found throughout literature, art, and history books, it does not actually describe a specific ethnicity or race. Instead, the concept of Moors has been used to describe alternatively the reign of Muslims in Spain, Europeans of African descent, and others for centuries. Derived from the Latin word Moris, the term was originally used to describe Berbers and ethnic groups from the ancient Roman province of Mauritania in what is now North Africa. Over time, it was increasingly applied to Muslims living in Europe. Beginning in the Renaissance, Moor and blackamoor were also used to describe any person with dark skin. In AD 711, a group of North African Muslims led by the Berber general Tariq ibn Ziyad captured the Iberian Peninsula, modern Spain and Portugal. Known as Al-Andalus, the territory became a prosperous cultural and economic center where education and the arts and sciences flourished. Over time, the strength of the Muslim state diminished, creating inroads for Christians who resented Moorish rule. For centuries, Christian groups challenged Muslim territorial dominance in Al-Andalus and slowly expanded their territory. This culminated in 1492, when Catholic monarchs Ferdinand II and Isabella I won the Granada War and completed Spain's conquest of the Iberian Peninsula. Eventually, the Moors were expelled from Spain. By then, the idea of Moors had spread across Western Europe. Moor came to mean anyone who was Muslim or had dark skin. Occasionally, Europeans would distinguish between blackamoors and white Moors. One of the most famous mentions of Moors is in Shakespeare's play The Tragedy of Othello, The Moor of Venice. Its titular character is a Moor who serves as a general in the Venetian army. In Shakespeare's time, the port city of Venice was ethnically diverse, and the Moors represented a growing interchange between Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and Africa. Despite his military prowess, Othello is also portrayed as exotic, hypersexual, and untrustworthy, a lascivious Moor who secretly marries a white woman, reflecting historic stereotypes of black people. More recently, the term has been co-opted by the sovereign citizen movement in the United States. Members of Moorish sovereign citizen groups claim they are descended from Moors who predated white settlers in North America and that they are part of a sovereign nation and not subject to U.S. laws. It's proof of the ongoing allure of Moor as a seemingly legitimate ethnic designation, even though its meaning has never been clear. The term Moor is an exonym first used by Christian Europeans to designate the Muslim populations of the Maghreb, Al-Andalus, Iberian Peninsula, Sicily, and Malta during the Middle Ages. Moors are not a single, distinct, or self-defined people. The 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica observed that the term had no real ethnological value. Europeans of the Middle Ages and the early modern period variously applied the name to Arabs, Berbers, and Muslim Europeans. The term has also been used in Europe in a broader sense to refer to Muslims in general, especially those of Arab or Berber descent, whether living in Al-Andalus or North Africa. During colonial era, the Portuguese introduced the names Ceylon Moors and Indian Moors in South Asia and Sri Lanka, now official ethnic designations on the island nation, and the Bengali Muslims were also called Moors. In the Philippines, the long-standing Muslim community, which predates the arrival of the Spanish, now self-identifies as the Moro people, an exonym introduced by Spanish colonizers due to their Muslim faith. In 711, troops mostly formed by Moors from northern Africa led the Umayyad conquest of Hispania. The Iberian Peninsula then came to be known in classical Arabic as Al-Andalus, which at its peak included most of Septimania and modern-day Spain and Portugal. In 827, the Aghlabid Moors occupied Mazara on Sicily, developing it as a port. They eventually went on to consolidate the rest of the island. Differences in religion and culture led to a centuries-long conflict with the Christian kingdoms of Europe, which tried to reclaim control of Muslim areas. This conflict was referred to as the Reconquista. In 1224, the Muslims were expelled from Sicily to the settlement of Lucera, which was destroyed by European Christians in 1300. The fall of Granada in 1492 marked the end of Muslim rule in Spain, although a Muslim minority persisted until their expulsion in 1609. The etymology of the word Moor is uncertain, although it can be traced back to the Phoenician term Mahurin, meaning Westerners. From Mahurin, the ancient Greeks derive Maro, from which Latin derives Maori. The word Moor is presumably of Phoenician origin. Some sources attribute a Hebrew origin to the word. During the classical period, the Romans interacted with and later conquered parts of Mauritania, a state that covered modern northern Morocco, western Algeria, and the Spanish cities Ceuta and Melilla. The Berber tribes of the region were noted in the classics as Maori, which was subsequently rendered as Moors in English and in related variations in other European languages. Maori, ancient Greek, Mualpharoomicron is recorded as the native name by Strabo in the early 1st century. This appellation was also adopted into Latin, whereas the Greek name for the tribe was Mauricii, ancient Greek, Mualphaepsilon Sigmaiodomicron. The Moors were also mentioned by Tacitus as having revolted against the Roman Empire in 24 AD. During the Latin Middle Ages, Maori was used to refer to Berbers and Arabs in the coastal regions of northwest Africa. The 16th century scholar Leo Africanus, circa 1494 to 1554, identified the Moors, Maori, as the native Berber inhabitants of the former Roman Africa province, Roman Africans.